Hi, here I am again, Alan Wood with the Alan Wood team, and Jerry Vasile, one of our local attorneys here in town. And here, now we are on section 2, and tell us a little bit about 2A.
Well, section 2 is a very important section of the contract because it deals with purchase price. Quite simply, that is the spot that the purchaser is going to make the initial purchase price offer to the seller. So
doesn't always mean that's the end final price.
No, it doesn't.
That's maybe the initial price, but sometimes if you have counter offers back and forth, it may end up at a different price at the end.
Correct.
Which would be
correct. It's just simply where you're making the initial offer to the seller for the price the purchaser wants to feels comfortable offering for the property.
Then the next thing then goes on to 2A1 is the deposit. Okay, this is where the buyer gives a good faith deposit. They're acting in good faith, putting it toward the purchase price. And so, if say someone offers $100,000, you know, a deposit may be $1,000 to $5,000, just an example. But if you're higher in price, the deposit usually goes up. What you found too is it also depends on the market, Jerry. If it's an aggressive market like this, people are just putting higher deposits to show that they're serious and they want their offer accepted. But if it's not as fast of a moving market, there might be a lower deposit amount. So you'll see it used different ways in that. So what happens with the deposit afterward, after it's been made?
Well, the deposit will be credited against the purchase price. So at the closing, that is going to come off the top of the purchase price, and obviously will be given to the seller.
Okay. So, for example, if you put a $10,000 deposit and the purchase price was $200,000, then you owe a balance of $190 plus whatever other related closing costs you may have.
Correct.
Okay, and adjustments that are made for taxes and things like that. Then it goes on to further to say seller concession. So a seller concession is where the seller will pay toward lender approved closing costs. Okay, and that's where an example, it doesn't happen in this market as much, but if a purchase price is $200,000, okay, and the buyer would like the seller to pay toward the lender approved closing costs, say they had them pay $5,000. So the seller, as an example, maybe needed $15,000 or $20,000 to close on the home. What they could say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if you would give us a $5,000 credit, we're going to offer you X price, give us a seller concession of $5,000. Then they would need $5,000 less at the closing table. Instead of needing $20,000, they might only need $15,000. Now, just for the buyer to keep in mind, the buyer is really not getting the seller to give them free money, like $5,000. Typically what's happened is if the purchase price was $200,000, maybe the seller was asking $200,000 but would have taken $195,000, so the buyer gave them $200,000 and they gave them a $5,000 concession, seller concession. So the seller really ended up with the $195,000 at the end. So the buyer is really just financing it into their loan as long as the property appraises for that price. Is that kind of accurate?
Yeah, pretty much. Seller's concession is just the legal mechanism by which a buyer may be able to qualify for a mortgage a little bit easier. So it's really done in a team effort in conjunction with their mortgage lender.
Correct. And so that's a little bit about the seller concession, and then so all that gets taken care of on the closing statement for the buyer and seller.
At the time of closing, correct.
And that is the conclusion of the beginning of section 2 of the contract. Thanks, everyone.